near future, an implanted microchip allows people to alter their perceptions and see themselves with their ideal face and physique. When a security guard falls in love with a beautiful barista, he faces the difficult decision between keeping up appearances and embracing his true self. In the Reality Plus clinic, Vincent successfully undergoes the microchip implantation procedure, leaving a small scar on the nape of his neck. As he sits in the chair, the computer instructs the man to press on his palm to activate the chip interface. So he presses on his left palm using his right thumb, and the program asks if he'd like to start his 12-hour activation time. Eager to get started, Vincent clicks the button and the computer welcomes him to the Reality Plus community. It adds that from now on, all members equipped with a chip can see the man's new appearance and he can see theirs. As another precaution, he is reminded that the implant only activates for 12 hours because his brain needs to rest for the other 12. All over the city, giant video billboards of the Reality Plus procedure cover the sides of buildings, implying that the surgery Vincent just went through is quite common. Later in his apartment bathroom, the man stands in front of the mirror and stares at his default appearance, the face and physique of a tall, handsome man. His vantage point reveals that the implant allows the wearer to see themselves as their idealized version of an attractive person. This also implies that those who underwent the procedure are people who are tired of their average looks and are curious to see what life is like as a conventionally attractive individual. As he observes his reflection, he touches his chest and stomach and realizes that the chip also alters his sense of touch, and he can feel the muscular body. Then, Vincent presses his palm to open the chip interface and scrolls through the different face options. Some have more chiseled jaws while others have varying hair lengths, but every single option is handsome, leading to him having a difficult time choosing. Eventually, he chooses the one with a slick back dark brown hair. Then, he flips through the manual and uses his fingers to digitally alter the size of his body. When he's satisfied with the appearance, Vincent moves on to the voice and he chooses one that's deeper than his own. The man takes one last look at his newly customized face and body, then he clicks the button to save the final configuration. Later that night, Vincent has trouble sleeping, so he sits up in bed and sees his handsome reflection in the window. Suddenly, the program informs him that he's reached his 12-hour limit. Then, he walks to the living room and catches his normal reflection in the mirror. Because he can't go back to sleep, the man puts on a hoodie and steps onto the balcony, hoping to get some fresh air. On the balcony next to his, he sees his female neighbor listening to music on her headphones and sketching on a piece of paper. When the woman senses him staring, she looks back at him. So Vincent averts his gaze and sheepishly returns inside the apartment. The next day, the man activates the chip as he leaves his building and he heads directly to a nearby coffee shop. When it's his turn to order, he's taken aback by the beauty of the blonde barista, Stella, who displays a mutual attraction to the customer. For several seconds, they're both mesmerized by each other, prompting the manager to tell them to hurry up because people are waiting in line. Vincent says he'd like one coffee, and as the barista prepares his order, he sees the scar on the nape of her neck, revealing that she also has an implant. When Stella hands over the receipt, the man grazes his finger on hers, flustering the woman. After he presses his thumb on the device to pay for his coffee, the barista thanks him, and they share a lingering look as they exchange their goodbyes. Outside, Vincent sees that Stella wrote down her name and phone number on the back of the receipt, much to his delight. Then, as he observes the people walking up and down the sidewalk, he notices the conventionally attractive men and women, whom he assumes also underwent the Reality Plus procedure. Later, the man clocks into his job where he works as a security guard, and when he swipes his ID card, he and his coworker Hervé don't recognize each other. Eventually, they realize that they both got the implant and Vincent is just now able to see his friend's idealized appearance. That evening, he sends Stella a text message asking her out to dinner, She immediately accepts and wonders if he's available tonight. However, when the security guard checks the program, it informs him that his next activation isn't for another 10 hours. So he lies and tells the barista that he already has plans for the evening and suggests they go on the date tomorrow instead. During the date, the pair spends hours enjoying each other's company. Vincent asks Stella if she's ever been to the opera, and she says she's never been to one before but would love to go. When the waitress hands them the receipt, the man jokes that she should write her phone number on it just like the barista did. After the meal, Stella says she knows a place that they can go to for a last drink. Later, the pair head to a secret entrance at the end of a dark alley where the guard at the door scans their chip before allowing them to enter. As Vincent walks down the narrow hall, he sees beautiful women and handsome men pass by. Inside the club, the security guard assumes all the people dancing and having a great time also underwent the Reality Plus procedure based on their appearance and the scars on the napes of their necks. Then, he encounters a man who looks exactly like him, implying that there's only a limited number of options on the program, making it entirely possible to see someone who chose the same face you did. When he catches up to Stella, he tells the woman that he'll buy them some drinks. However, as he walks up to the bar, another patron accidentally hits him on the head with a bottle, and he's knocked down to the floor. Seconds later, Vincent gets back up, but the chip starts to malfunction, causing him to see the bartender's true form. Due to a system failure, the program initiates a deactivation countdown of 20 seconds. Afraid of everyone seeing his real face, the panicked man quickly cuts through the crowd in search of the bathroom. He enters with only a few seconds to spare, and when the countdown reaches 0, he sees his normal reflection in the mirror. On the wall, he spots multiple stickers with the phrase "last longer" written on them. When he hears someone in one of the stalls, he immediately leaves the establishment. Meanwhile, the bewildered barista worriedly scans the dance floor, wondering where her date went. Later that night in his bedroom, Vincent has trouble sleeping again, so he puts on his hoodie and goes out onto the balcony. The man sees the neighbor continuing the same drawing she started a few nights ago. When she senses his stare, the woman turns her head, and he awkwardly pretends like he wasn't looking at her. The next day, the security guard leans on the balcony railing while on the phone with the Reality Plus customer service representative. He explains that there was a system failure last night and he'd like them to fix it, so he relays his chip number and his complete name so they can attend to his concern. Seconds later, he notices that the wind blew the neighbor's drawing onto the gutter near his balcony, and he picks it up. He chuckles when he sees the finished illustration of a dragon violently biting off the head of a man wearing a suit. Thinking that the neighbor might want to have the drawing back, Vincent folds the paper in half and wedges it between two sticks on her planter so that the wind doesn't blow it away. Because he feels awful for leaving the club without informing Stella last night, the man returns to the coffee shop and asks her for a chance to redeem himself. However, the annoyed barista doesn't acknowledge his request and treats him like an ordinary customer, wanting to make it abundantly clear that he hurt her feelings last night. After he pays for the order, she gives him a cold goodbye and walks away. Outside, the man takes his coffee cup out of the paper bag, and to his surprise, he sees that Stella wrote a message on it, stating that she accepts his apology. During their next date, the security guard and the barista share a passionate kiss in the middle of the street. Suddenly, she senses her chip beeping, warning her that she only has 10 minutes left before the program deactivates. Panicked, Stella says she needs to go, but Vincent grabs her hand and proposes they spend the night together as their true selves. However, the woman clearly isn't ready to take such a major step in their budding relationship, so she apologizes because she can't do it, and she runs away. Later that night, the security guard tosses and turns in bed, unable to shake off the events earlier. The next day, Hervé shows Vincent the fresh incision on his back that looks like it wasn't sewn shut by a surgeon. The man recoils at the sight, so the friend explains that he had his chip unlocked yesterday. He adds that he's now activated 24/7 and no longer restrained by the 12-hour limit. Then, he slides a last longer card over to Vincent and says the procedure only costs 40 or 50 euros. That night, the security guard receives a text message from the barista stating that she has to cancel their date to the opera because she mixed up her activation schedule. Her message further solidifies that the woman still isn't open to them seeing each other's true faces. Then, he lies down on the bed, holds the card above him, and considers getting his chip unlocked. One night, Vincent invites Stella back to his apartment after undergoing the illegal procedure. The woman says she's finally happy now that they have all the time in the world. However, when the barista turns on the light, she sees the man's real face. Horrified and confused, Vincent exclaims that the people who unlocked his chip kept the wrong appearance, and he's stuck looking like his normal self while retaining the ability to see the beautiful versions of other people. As the man screams in horror, he fears that the long scar he sustained on his back was all for nothing. Suddenly, Vincent wakes up from the nightmare, and after touching his back, he breathes a deep sigh of relief. To calm himself down, he steps out onto the balcony for some fresh air. Then, the neighbor thanks him for returning the drawing, and he awkwardly stumbles over his words trying to compliment her skills. Seconds later, Vincent asks the woman if she wants to go to the opera with him, seeing as he already has the tickets and would rather they not go to waste. Later, the elated pair returns to the apartment and the security guard twirls her around. Although they're both clearly attracted to each other, their mutual shyness prompts them to bid the other good night before heading into their separate apartments. Moments later, they both step out onto their respective balconies and jokingly greet each other. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows the woman's drawings off the table, so she scrambles to try and grab them. Then, Vincent spots an illustration of his Reality Plus counterpart and wonders why the neighbor chose to draw him. As the woman crouches to collect the pieces of paper, the security guard sees the scar on the nape of her neck. The neighbor's phone starts to ring, and when she turns around, she sees Vincent holding his. The man had dialed Stella's number, and the look on the woman's face all but confirmed that she and the barista were one and the same. Eventually, they both realize that this entire time, even though they were too afraid to expose their true selves, they never really needed the microchips to form a genuine bond and develop romantic feelings for another human being.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.